If you're somebody who's juggling multiple passions and different interests, you know how difficult it is to focus. Your attention, your time, your money, your energy, your resources, your energy is pulled in so many different directions because you care about so many different things. All of a sudden you have a new hobby, you have a different project, you have a different interest, you have a new career, you have a shiny object, and you have something else that you want to study. And there's so many things that are on the table. It can really feel very disorienting in deciding what to focus on. Are you making the right choice? Are you making the wrong choice? Are you going to miss out? Are you FOMO? Is there fear of missing out if you pick this one and not that one? Are you going to try to do it all, or are you going to just not do anything because it's overwhelming to pick? Now, if you resonate with any of that, if you are a multi-hyphenate, if you are a multi-passionate person, or you have all these different curiosities or interests, go ahead and take a seat, sit down with me, let's talk, let's have a grounded conversation about how it is that you can figure out what it is that you're being called to focus on right now in this season. I'm going to be sharing with you a threes method, which is a simple way that you can allow yourself to focus and redirect your energy, especially if you're feeling like there's so many different things, so many different options. Where do I go from here? Now, I'm coming into this conversation as a multi-passionate person myself. I have a lot of different passions that are seemingly unrelated, and some of them are overlapped, but I've also been able to find a lot of success in pursuing my passions. I'm the founder of AlwaysPlay Studios and the Healing Arts Academy, where I train sound healers, breathwork facilitators, and I mentor aspiring healers in the healing arts. And to this date, I've trained over thousands of practitioners who facilitate breathwork and sound baths, and they run retreats, they run corporate programs and wellness programs in their communities, and so many beautiful things that come from that. I'm also the founder of Flow Breathwork Facilitator Training. I'm also a best-selling author. I wrote a book called Breathe, all about 33 breathing techniques that are used for mood, energy, inner healing, grounding, and for sleep. I also host a podcast called the Playground Podcast, which is a top 2% globally ranked podcast for the last 4 years, all about spiritual exploration, personal development, growth, intuitive entrepreneurship, magic, mysticism. It's basically the playground. It's just learning how to be a person and, growing and evolving. And that's where I share a lot of like the musings and things that I'm learning and self-evolution that I'm going through as well. And back in the day, maybe 15 years ago at this point, I was the founder of an award-winning digital agency that worked on websites and databases for a lot of big companies. I'm also a women's researcher. I work with teams on women's experiences, on self-objectification and self-esteem and perfectionism and people-pleasing and some of the health outcomes that come from that. I'm also learning how to produce music and DJing, and that's a new thing that I'm going into. Now, I'm not sharing this with you to say, look at all these things I do and how good I am at them. I'm sharing with you to say, you're also good at many things, but there's a real tactic and a methodology in being able to focus your attention and your energy in a way that allows you to be consistent and have momentum in the passion that you're pursuing for right now. Because the truth about passions is that they come in seasons, okay? Like I'm in my music season right now. Like I'm producing, I'm writing music, I'm like working on software, I'm learning so much, I'm YouTubing, I'm learning with people, I'm DJing and all these different things, and it just feels like this new exciting code, and I have momentum about it because I have an interest in it, right? It's hard to be passionate about something if you're not interested in the thing. And sometimes your interests shift depending on what season you're in, right? And sometimes you're in a learning season, and sometimes you're in a doing season, sometimes you're in a resting season, and sometimes you're in a, right? Like you're in a go, go, go season. And I'm somebody who works with the flow of my body, my seasons in literally my physical body rhythm. I also work with the seasons of the world, right? So when you are in spring, it's a different energy. When you're in summer, and different energy. Fall is a different energy. Winter is a different energy. There's an up, down, up, down, up, down energy. That's something that I personally work with. But if you're somebody who's juggling all these different passions, you have to understand that passions also come in seasons, and not every season is for everything. So seasonally, if we look at plants, if you look at a garden, right? Like seasonally, everything doesn't grow every season. Sometimes it's tomato season and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's flowers season and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's not this flower season, a different type of flower season, and sometimes it's not, right? And sometimes it's not a season to grow anything, right? Maybe you're experiencing frost, right? When it's winter time, it's not the season to grow. It's not the season to cultivate. There's a season for that. Okay. Now, if you are juggling multiple passions and different interests and different curiosities, think of your life as a garden. Okay. And think of your passions as the seed. So certain times you're not going to plant anything because like the ground is frozen. Like it's not the time to grow, and sometimes it's like, okay, we're going to grow this one thing that's going to actually take 5 years to grow. Like maybe you're trying to grow a tree that's going to fruit and not tomorrow. It's not going to grow tomorrow. It's not going to grow even this next year. It's going to be a little bit and then a little bit and a little bit. And eventually in 5 years, you're going to see the fruits of your labor. Like that, literally that linguistic term, that phrase, the fruits of your labor. It's like that tree's not going to fruit today. It's going to fruit in 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. But you also have things in your garden that are for short-term gratification, right? You need to eat. Like you can't just wait for that fruit like for 10 years and then you get like one fruit to eat from it. You might plant little things in there that's going to sustain you. So you might plant certain things that are going to help you for the next 3 months, and some things that are going to help you, keep your curiosity and your momentum going for the next 1 year or whatever that timeline is. So you might be somebody who's like wanting to plant everything all at once and you want to see the gratification tomorrow, right? And everything has a different growth rate. Like the tomatoes are going to take a different timeline than the cucumbers, and the cucumbers are different than plants that are annual and plants that are perennial and plants that are, right, like only come in the fall, and a plant, right? Like there's so many different factors to consider when you're planting a garden. And that is the same exact concept when you're thinking about your passions. So in this season of life, right? Like in this season of life, maybe you're not a tomato farmer anymore. You know what I mean? Like that was amazing and that was yummy and that passion can go. Like this season, you're really just wanting those strawberries. So you want to plant the strawberries. Now you're going to want to nurture and cultivate that plant for the next amount of time. Okay. So let me just backtrack right now because we're talking about like plants and animals and strawberries and seasons and all of that. And anytime me and you talk, like I'm always relating us to nature. Okay. Because we are just like that. Nature has its up and down, and our passions also have this up and down as well. We might exist in a society that really makes you believe that you're just supposed to have that one thing, right? What's your niche, right? What's your specialty? What's your one thing that you're mastering in? And yeah, there is value in mastering one thing because like if you're a heart surgeon, I don't want you to be a generalist. Like I want you to have a specialty in heart surgery. Like I want you to be able to do that really well. There's value in like being a specialist. There's value in like knowing one thing, but the nature of people is curiosity. Anything that we've ever done and anything that we've ever, pursued came from curiosity. We looked at the sky and we said, what's that? And we started to study it. And we looked at plants and we said, whoa, we smelt it, we cut it, we rubbed it, we ate it. We, didn't turn out well for every single person, but we were curious about it. And we said, okay, what if I extracted pigment and I started to paint with it? What if I put it on my face? And what if everything that we've ever created comes from curiosity, right? Creation, curiosity. And so when you are pursuing multiple passions, you really want to think about things as seasons. And so just because it's not tomato season doesn't mean that you don't ever get to eat a tomato. You can eat that later. You know what I mean? There's going to be a season where it's going to be ripened and you're going to be able to enjoy that. And just because it's not cucumber season or just because it's not strawberry season or just because it's not, right, like peach season doesn't mean you don't get to enjoy. It's okay if things are in the back burner, and it's also okay if there's a different timeline for certain things. Okay. So if I just personally reflect and project a little bit, right now, I just told you I'm producing music, I'm not saying I'm good in it, cause I've only been in it for several months, but there's this excitement energy towards that. I'm so excited every single day and I practice for hours at a time. I'm DJing, I'm mixing music, I'm producing, I'm learning about samples and I'm taking drum lessons. I'm in my band and all of these different things. It's every day I'm just lit up to go do that. And there's certain things that I used to be lit up in doing. And there's certain things in my business that I used to be lit up in doing. And so it's not to say just because I'm not particularly lit up about those things, that those things need to burn down. Maybe that's a sign, but it's you don't need to burn everything down just because you're going to do a different thing. It doesn't need to change. You don't need to change your entire personality and your character. And there's this identity piece of you that feels so staggered in so many different ways. In psychology, we call it identity integration. There's all these different parts of us that is really just one whole, right? It just feels like we're getting pulled into different direction. Like, this is my identity over here. This is my identity at work. And this is my identity with friends. This is my identity in my creative. And this is my, right? Like, and there's this like kind of fight with all these identities. But when you integrate your identity, basically it means like you are all of those things all at once, and you're none of them at the same time, like, and then tomorrow there's going to be another character that shows up and you're like, I am that too, and I'm also this thing, and I'm also, right? Like, you wear so many different hats. And that is the truth about your passion, is that it's not meant to be this one. It's actually this ever evolving, like, living organism. Like, a passion is this like living organism. In psychology, there's a term called grit, and basically the definition is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. So a lot of people argue, is like, that's something that you're just born with, that you're gritty and you just have that momentum, like that go-getter, or you're just, don't have it? Or is that something that can build over time? Is that something that is malleable over time? But one thing I want to point out for you is just the word passion. The passion word in itself has a lot of energy in it. Passion is fuel. Passion is fire. Passion is this like, right? Like, it's this feeling in your gut, in your body, in your heart. And when you think about the word passion, it's a heat energy, right? Like when you say hot and heavy, or passionate kiss, or passion about something, there's a fire, right? It's a spark. The energy of it is really hot. That's the fuel. And the thing about passion is that it's really hard to have fuel about something that you don't care about, And so when I said all these different things that I wrote this book and I truly believe that I will be able to replicate quote unquote success in many different things, even if I change career or like have a different, pathway for myself, is because the passion is the fuel. If you don't care about a thing, it's hard to maintain it long term, right? Like, if you're just doing it for the sake of like, oh, because, my parents said so, yeah, it's sustainable for a little bit, but for the long-term perseverance, it's going to burn out, right? Burn, fire, right? Energy, fuel, it's going to burn out. What do you do when you don't have any fuel? You burned out. And so that burnout energy comes from when we're using our passion in misdirection. We're misdirecting our passion. We're using fuel for things that are not important to us. We're just doing it just because. And sometimes, yes, it is survival. Like, you have to sometimes do things in order for survival's sake. So it's not to discredit, and say you're using your energy in the wrong way sometimes, but also other times it's not true. Other times you're really wasting your energy in certain ways that are not really appropriate for you. Let me share with you the threes method. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the visual, but if you are listening on the podcast, you'll just have to use your imagination, and I'll try to be descriptive as I talk. Now, I really recommend that you're able to write as we're going through this exercise. So you can pause the video and, come back to it as you're kind of filling in the blanks for yourself. And the thing about focus is that it's scattered, right? Like, unfocused or non-focused energy is like scattered. What we're doing here is we're saying, all right, scattered, let's like collect it all in one place. Let's dump it down into one place so that we can find patterns in what it is that is coming up for you nowadays. So the first thing is to draw 3 boxes for yourself, okay? So this is the threes method. We're going to be, talking a lot about the 3 energy. So basically you have 3 boxes, and right off the bat, just write down what kind of passions are coming up for you. Just 3, okay? So say, for example, the first box said jewelry. All right, so maybe that's something coming up for you. You're like, yeah, I want to make jewelry. I want to, wrap crystals, or I want to do X, Y, and Z. And that's just been in the forefront of your mind. Just put it down in one box, okay? So from that box, you want to draw 3 lines. All right, I told you it's the threes method. So you have 3 things and you're drawing 3 lines, okay? So from these 3 lines, write down how you want to do jewelry, like what's showing up for you right now. So an idea might be, I've been wanting to, learn beadwork, or I've been wanting to learn wire wrapping, or I've been wanting to, wholesale jewelry, or I want to use thread to make jewelry, Okay, so just come up with 3 ways that jewelry is showing up for you. So once you do that, you're going to say, what are 3 ways that this is an exciting thing for me? And after you do that, you're going to do a similar thing. You're going to say, in what ways is this a chore for me? So for example, if one of your boxes is jewelry, All right, say that you've been wanting to make jewelry or produce jewelry, you've been wanting to gift jewelry or been wanting to learn certain things about jewelry. Your box says jewelry, okay? So from your box, draw 3 lines coming out of the box, okay? These lines you're going to fill up with how is this jewelry concept showing up for you? Meaning some of those examples I just gave you. So you might say, okay, yeah, I've been wanting to learn wire wrapping, or I want to learn more about crystals, or I want to learn about like welding and thread work, or whatever it is that is in the realm of jewelry for you. How does it want to show up? Okay, so we have the what is jewelry, and how does it want to show up? So 3 ways that it wants to show up, write it in that. After you have that, you're going to write out 3 ways that those things are exciting for you. After you do that, you'll write 3 things that feel like a chore about it. Okay, so then you'll do this for all 3 of your categories. So you say if you had jewelry, say you had art, say you had music, or whatever it was on your list, you're going to do that for each, okay? So jewelry, how it's showing up for you, how it's exciting for you, and how it's a chore for you. As you finish this activity, you listed 3 passions, interests, curiosities that are showing up for you in this season. And within those 3 things, you listed 3 ways that those things want to manifest in your life. So whether it's through education, whether it's through doing, whether it's through listening, whether it's through learning, whether it's through experience, you listed 3 ways for each of those things. The next thing you did, you listed another 3 ways that those things feel exciting to you, and another 3 ways those things feel like a chore to you. So what all of this is data collection, okay? This is just a little scientific inquiry for you to see it on paper, to say, maybe there's something on this piece of paper that actually doesn't have anything that feels exciting to me. And that's a good thing, because it's not going to be sustainable for you, right? Like to go to and to push it and to do it and to plan for it, you're going to start to feel the procrastination. You're going to feel like the momentum wears off. You're going to feel like you're forcing things rather than flowing through them. It's a really good piece of information to have. Now, if you also notice on your piece of paper that there's so many things that feel like chores, perhaps you want to redo this activity and say, maybe there's a different 3 activities that I actually want to pick. And this first time around, I felt kind of shameful, or I didn't want to put it there because I don't feel like I'm supposed to say that that's my passion, or I feel some kind of shame or guilt about, expressing that as something that I want to do. So challenge yourself to do this a few rounds just to see if something has shifted for you. And when you find the pattern where it says like, yeah, I'm actually called to this because I really want to be in my gift of speaking, or in my gift of art, or in my gift of creation, or in my gift of teaching, that is the thing that wants to manifest for you right now. So pick the one from that list that already has that fire, that already has that passion, that already has that fuel, and see where that gets you. Well, friends, I hope this helps you out, and let me know if you go through this exercise and how this helps you. Definitely leave a comment, and of course, if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe. And just remember, the world is your playground, and until next time, I will catch you soon.